exactly what my stance was about
Right?
femininity. So yeah.
Here we go. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser, and this week my guest is Elle, Seline. She's a singer, songwriter, mental health worker, and a model based in Surrey, United Kingdom. Her music has attracted national and international press attention and has gained airtime on ITV, BBC iPlayer, and the BBC Radio. With her own lived experiences of trauma growing up, Elle uses her platform unapologetically to raise awareness of current issues and stigma surrounding complex mental health diagnosis and bullying. In 2021, Elle made history as the first woman to compete in Miss Great Britain Makeup Free and win a title. Her stance was a symbol of women's rights, choice, and the dangers of social media for young people. On the back of this, Elle continues to visit schools and colleges across the UK and mentor young people to speak her truth in order to inspire and educate others. Everybody, please welcome Elle. Hi. How
Hello.
are you? She's calling in all the way from the UK. I love her accent. It's going to take me a while not to copy you.
I love your accent. Everyone says
Because
that.
it's really, I love accents.
I love your accent.
Well, thank you. Okay, so tell us your story, your fearless female journey.
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. So I'm Elle Seline, and growing up, I was always outcast. So growing up, I grew up on the Greek island of Skiathos, Mamma Mia Island, for those who don't know, and it was a very nice, idyllic childhood. And then I moved to the UK when I was 10 to attend boarding school because my mum's British, hence the accent.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a really hard time fitting in. I had a really hard time, a really difficult time finding myself and fitting in. I always have had mental health issues. From a very young age, I presented differently. Now I know that's called neurodivergency, but at the time I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I just thought I was weird. And there was no help back then. I'm now 32 years of age. And back then in schools, even when I was really young, there was no talk about mental health or the dangers of social media or the dangers of anything really. It was all
Yeah.
very. So growing up, it was quite difficult for me to navigate. I mean, I'm sure me and you are very similar age, and our generation was a generation that got told to look thin, to always show up, glow up, and it was a very pressured time to grow up because we'd had the people before us get told that, the women before us, and then we were kind of the generation that I guess got very screwed up from that because we had other ideas, if that makes sense. Like we
Yeah.
knew it was wrong. And I think this is great because we are the generation that's trying to make things different. And growing up in school, I was bullied. I was bullied for my hair color. I'm a little bit darker, so I've got more facial hair and more hair on my body. And that was
Mm-hmm.
another part of it, that they would call me gorilla, they'd call me rude
Mm-hmm.
names. And unfortunately as well, I did experience some sexual assault during school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did report the incidents to the teachers, I was the problem. What were you doing, what were you wearing, what were you drinking, that kind of thing. It was that kind of mentality. And back then it was more so victim blaming, and that really actually did affect me. I'm still in trauma therapy as I speak now,
Oh.
trying to resolve the issues, but I do pride myself on speaking unapologetically about the issues. So growing up, quite a difficult childhood. Then came to the Guildford, Surrey, which is where I am now, to attend the Academy of Contemporary Music, where I studied music. Music and animals was always something that I found really helped me feel safe. I had my family as well. I was very lucky to have a loving family as well. But for me, it was music and animals that really made me feel like I was okay. When I did music, when I was singing, I felt like I was a freak. And even in school, whenever I was doing music, they had nothing on me at that point because that was where I shone. I came alive on the stage.
Yeah.
And even with animals and that, I felt very, very safe, and I felt like I could just be myself. And that for me was very hard at school. I always felt like I had to fit in, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to perform and be a certain way and be quite false almost, because I felt like that was the only way that I was going to get accepted into this cool clique. And I know it sounds very cliche, but I was one of those kids that was outcasted, was called names. And because I came from a different culture, again, back then there wasn't this discussion about culture and about different people. It was a secluded little school in Wiltshire, which is, if anyone knows Stonehenge, it's quite close to that.
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, so it's very outside of London. So I think if I went to a school in London, it might have been a bit different because it's a bit more ethnic. But where I went to school, it was very much, yeah, it was a very white place, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But of course, coming into the school as an olive skin,
Yeah.
Greek, kind of almost quite feral, because from an island, you're kind of running wild quite a lot of the time, enjoying the beach, and coming to the school where I had to really conform and really like you know, there's a routine here. I have to like follow this timetable and do this and that. Is very different to what I was growing up with. And moving forward into when I went to college.
Yeah, before we go into your college story, I wanted to go back a little bit and talk about when you first when you were told that you were neurodivergent. Like, let's talk about that, because some people who are probably listening don't understand. So what were your like symptoms, or what were your characteristics that maybe someone who's listening has a child that hasn't been diagnosed and they don't know, and they're kind of thinking, well, they're weird, or you know what I mean? Or they're just weird. But I mean, like you said, I love that you said that back then, you know, and I love that you also said that I'm close to your age. I'm actually going to be 43 tomorrow.
No way. Yes. No, you do not look it.
Well,
honestly,
thank you.
You were my age. I thought you were like 31 or 30.
No, I'm going to be 43 tomorrow, but
you look very good for your age.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I was going to say, you're right. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have social media. We didn't even like, we just had beepers, you know, we had beepers. We didn't have social media. But there was this huge, you know, marketing push in the magazines and in television to look a certain way. I can't even imagine growing up now with social media and the hype. So tell us again, what is neurodivergent and what are the like symptoms or the, you know, the characteristics of being neurodivergent?
So for me, how I would explain to somebody who might not know what it is your brain just is very different to someone with a normal brain, in inverted commas, because what is normal? So autism, ADHD, BPD, which is what I've got, borderline personality disorder, dyslexia, dyspraxia, they all fall in that category, and they're all kind of partnered up, and you can get similar diagnoses or you can get both diagnoses. I'm going to explain with BPD because that's my experience. So we have very different thinking patterns. So I think in black and white. So everything's either really great or really bad. I've always had anxiety and depression, as I stated before. Even from a young age, I was, you know, sucking my thumb till quite a older age, and I was chewing stuff because I was quite anxious. And that, I believe, would be classed as neurodivergent behavior, a very quirky way of thinking. And I do have social filters, but I think a lot of neurodivergent people might not. So it all depends on the characteristics of your own personality. So for me, I could wake up really happy one day or really, really, really depressed the next day, like for no reason at all. And everything is in extremes. So having a really good day today. So I'm like, woo, everything's great. And then I could literally wake up tomorrow and be angry for no reason at all. And if you can imagine that in school, I was most probably undiagnosed when I was a teenager in school. It was really hard to navigate those emotions. I feel very intense emotions. I feel like a lot of people are out to get me. I have this fear of abandonment, which is one of the traits of BPD. And I think autism also comes into that. There's a lot of intense emotions when autism is mentioned as well in this category. And for me, it's quite difficult there's a lot of stigma around it, because when people hear borderline personality disorder, I've been told before, oh, you won't be able to do the job. You might not be able to, you know, you're not going to be qualified. I've had it before where people have gone, oh, you sure you're going to be able to do that? And I'm thinking, you know, there are very positive things about people who are neurodivergent. We're very creative. We're very passionate. So the extremes go both ways. So you've got extreme emotions. We can feel extreme anger. We can feel extreme sadness, but we can also feel extreme passion and extreme positivity as well. So it's a very wide spectrum. So my advice to somebody, if you think that maybe you have got something similar to what I've got, go to your, I don't know what they call it in America, your GP, your doctor, and get properly diagnosed. Because for me, I've always felt like something's not right, and I think my mum as well knew that maybe something wasn't right, but there was just no name for it. And for me personally, to get that diagnosis really helped me move forward. So in school, I was constantly having bad relationships with people, very difficult, rocky romantic relationships as well throughout my adolescence and throughout my adulthood. And that's part of the traits of borderline personality disorder. It's behavioral, it's not chemical. So where bipolar is chemical, this is behavioral, this is a trauma response. And unfortunately, I believe that my BPDs probably come from childhood trauma of sexual abuse. And unfortunately, that's come into adulthood. So it's a trauma response to the abuse and to the feeling of not feeling safe. So when I'm feeling safe, I'm great. I can really function. And if things are out of my control, or if I've not got my routine and things like that, I feel very unbalanced, and I feel it's very difficult to explain, but kind of like out of control and very anxious. And if you're feeling those sort of symptoms, you might have traits of BPD or traits of neurodivergent diagnosis, but definitely get checked out by a professional, because there's so many different avenues. There's about 265 different combinations of borderline personality disorder that someone can have. So where someone might have similar diagnosis to me or the same diagnosis, we present different. So different symptoms will come out. It's a bit like if you went to the gym and we worked out, our bodies would do different things. We'd get muscles in different places. It's similar, very similar. I have not been to the gym for about 2 years. Anyway, no, not going. It's too cold out. But that's the sort of thing that I would explain if I had to somebody who didn't know what it was. It's the way of the brain works, basically. Neurodivergent, it's a different way of thinking. I think it's quite a stigmatized thing. I think it's definitely quite stigmatized. Borderline personality disorder, in every thriller movie or if every film that's bad, the baddie always has BPD, and you're just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not, and it's stigmatized. And even schizophrenia, bipolar, in the media and in films, it's like the evil scary guy has schizophrenia, and actually a lot of these people are functioning in the world, and a lot of these people are working full-time jobs. I work full-time. I pay the rent, but in society, I think people sometimes find it hard to believe that I do have BPD, because I am functioning and doing all the things that normal people do. And that's quite difficult as well to navigate, because when I need help, I don't reach out.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to help me? I'm doing so well, in inverted commas. And that's quite difficult. I sometimes gaslight myself a lot of the time, because I'm like, who's going to help me? I've got everything going on. And I think going on what we were saying about social media, there's a lot out there that people see social media and people see perfect lives and perfect people. And I think a lot of famous people actually have quite a few mental health issues. I mean, do you know what I mean? And nobody sees them like that. And when they do come out and discuss it, people ridicule them. And we forget, Robin Williams, we've had Caroline Flack in the United Kingdom. A lot of the people that are struggling are the ones with the big smiles on, and the ones that are trying to navigate things in the world. Because there's just such a stigma around mental health still. I think when we were growing up, it was a lot more. But there is that ridicule now, isn't there?
I think that before, we just never talked about it. We never talked about our anxious thoughts, or we never talked about like what was going on, or, we just powered through it. But how old were you when you finally were diagnosed?
2019, so I'd been 29. So very, very
wow.
recently.
So all through high school, you didn't even know what was going on.
No, the school thought I had ADHD, and then I got tested for ADHD, and I came back not ADHD. And I think back then it was, you either had ADHD or autism. You fell in those two categories, but I didn't have either. But I was presenting differently. When I was 16, 17, I turned to drugs and alcohol, unfortunately, to suppress my emotions and to be able to feel numb, because there was no name for what I had, but I knew something was wrong. And I was using those to escape my reality and try and be someone else, even for 5 minutes, just to feel normal and not feel these emotions that were literally consuming me.
Yeah. But can I tell you something, Elle? Like, regardless of what you've been diagnosed with, like, you sound like just everybody else. Like, you sound like me.
yeah, exactly. And that,
you sound like, I mean, all the things that you have experienced is what most people and most of my audience has experienced, regardless of whether or not we've been diagnosed. We're human. This is the human experience. We're having the human experience, and it comes with emotions. Yeah. And it comes with drastic emotions. Like, there are some days where I feel like 1,000-fold the best person in the whole wide world. And the next day I don't feel so good. We also have these hormonal changes as women, and if we're not taught like about our cycles and how our hormones change, like that's a lot, so it definitely is. I like that we're having this conversation, because there may be some women out there that aren't diagnosed, or their children aren't diagnosed. And, absolutely. But I also think that, like, as human beings, we're from energy, we are energy. And I feel like energy can't be contained.
I 100% agree with you. I think, as well, as you touched upon it, hormones. When I was growing up, I was on the contraceptive pill, and that really screwed up my hormones, because it was an imbalance. And as a teenager, like, I came off it when I was, how old was I? 28, 27, because I was like, these hormones, because I was on the one that you took the break in the middle, and after, when I was on the break, I thought, oh, I feel normal. And then you'd go up and down on this horrible like roller coaster. And it's so true what you're saying. And when I was at boarding school, I didn't have my mum there to navigate me through periods and different changes of I was changing, I was maturing. And that with the bullying really didn't help, because as a young person, you want to fit in. And then if you're a young person that doesn't fit the status quo, and you look when you're maturing and going through puberty, that's even harder, because you're like, what's wrong with me? You question yourself. And especially online at the moment, there's all these filters and all these like, adverts like, look perfect, look like her. No one's ever telling you to look like themselves. So if we had it bad, I really do feel for the young people today, because they're constantly exposed. They've got smartphones, which is like,
I can't
what
even
I mean?
imagine. So does everyone go to boarding school? Because we don't have boarding school here.
No, not everybody. So because my family were in Greece, and my mum wanted to have the education in the UK because it was a little bit better than the Greek one. She decided that me and my brother would be going to the UK to
so when you go to boarding school, it's just like you going off to college. Like your parents are not there; they don't pick you up. You're living there.
Dorm rooms. Yeah, so I was 10 in a college, almost in a college experience, basically, and that was hard because, again,
those are like the most informative years of your life. You needed your parents.
I did, and I think if my mum could probably go back now, she'd probably do it different. But I did learn independence, and I did learn a lot about people. But at the same time, I was navigating a lot at that age. I was going through puberty. I was away from my mum. I was away from my home, my island, like the sea, the ocean, which makes me feel safe as well. So being that young, again, it was another abandonment issue. For me, it was like another abandonment, even though I knew it was for my own good in a way, because I needed the education and I wanted to. I was always very free-spirited. Like, I like to travel. I like to do this sort of thing. And there's parts of it which were really good. Like, don't get me wrong, it was like having a sleepover with people. Like, most of the, like, all the girls there, like the girls that were in the boarding house were cool. Like, it was more during the day that was difficult for me. When the boys would come, that was the hard part.
That would seem really, really hard as like a 10-year-old. Like, when I think about myself as a 10-year-old, like,
it was difficult. It wasn't easy.
You're a young kid. You need your mom, you need your dad, you need to feel secure, you need safety. And that's, I don't know, I can't even imagine sending my child off to boarding school. Like, when we send our kid, I have a stepson. I don't have any kids of my own, but when we send my stepson to, like, we used to send him to like Boy Scout camp or like summer camp. Like, I was so afraid, like, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to be safe? Is someone going to kidnap him? Is someone going to like molest them? Is someone going to like bully them? Because you're not there to protect them, but it is helpful for a child to be separated a week, 2 weeks to a camp so that they can like have fun with their friends and feel, a little bit of that independence. But to go to school, I don't know how long do you go to boarding school for?
I was there for a while. I was there from 10 to about 18. And then I moved to Surrey. So I was there for a lot.
Really?
For basically the most important years of my
growing up. Your development.
I do believe that did not help either. I don't blame my family, because they were just trying to do the best for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've learned independence. Like, my mum moved to Greece when she was quite young as well, and met my dad, and she was about 20, 21, 22, and older than 10. But you know what I mean? And I think she wanted me and my brother to have that choice. My mum was very pro-choice like me, and she wanted us to have that choice on what we want, where we want to end up in life. And I've actually stayed in the UK. My brother's back in Greece, so he stayed in Greece with my mum, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I had, because I wouldn't be here now talking to you. Does that make sense?
Right? Yes, absolutely. Your journey is meant for you to learn certain lessons in this life. So.
I definitely learned some lessons. Like, I'm surprised I made it this far, to be honest. I'm 33 in a month's time or whatever, and I'm just like, wow, I made it.
Yeah. So tell us about. I love that you said earlier that, like, when you discovered music, that's when you felt like whole. Because I know somebody who stuttered, and the moment that they started to sing, they wouldn't stutter anymore.
Wow, that's really
like
cool.
It was just like they can feel like the thoughts that were making them stutter and like stammer on their words. They just made it like, it was like the music made everything just calm in their mind.
Yeah, that's what it does with me. So I've always, from a very young age, I've always been interested in music. So when I was about 6, 7, I did piano lessons. That's when I started learning, and always musical throughout school, even throughout junior school in Greece. I was always singing. I was always writing silly songs at that point, but I was always, I was interested in it. It was something I was very interested in. And my family bought me this little tape recorder thing, the little microphone, and I'd write songs and I'd record them back. And Pink Floyd, when I was young, was like my thing. It was my jam. Those were the people, like Pink Floyd, the Beatles, Michael Jackson, all that. I was influenced by a lot of that sort of music. And yeah, it just kind of made me feel more than, sounds really cheesy, but it just made me feel like I just needed it in my life, like oxygen. Like I really resonated with what the music was about. I really resonated with like just the feel of it, the energy. It
Yeah.
kind of calms me. And I do believe that's almost still part of the neurodivergency, is that it's a soothing mechanism. I use it to soothe me and to self-medicate. And it's my outlet at the moment is to do music. I'm about 7 years sober now, and
Oh,
thank
congratulations.
you. Thank you so much. And part of the reason why is because I wanted to take my music career to the next level. I wanted to pursue that, and I wanted to do it the right way. And yeah, I got a lot of help, which was good. I managed to get help when I needed it, when I was not sober, and music was my way out. Music was the way that I got myself out of that situation, because I was able to write those lyrics and take those emotions that I had pent up and put them on paper, and do something with it. So almost journaling, but writing music. And I've been doing it now since 2012, writing more seriously. And I really have felt that it has really helped me, definitely.
Oh, that's amazing. So
Thank you.
I just love that you were like, the music made you feel a certain way. And there's so much that we don't know about, like frequency and,
Yeah, 100%.
and how certain hurts can help us and like heal us. And there's so much that needs to be studied and learned about
Absolutely.
frequency and how it can program us, like ourselves, like everything is, have you seen that where they put sand on a plate and then they put a frequency of like, 963 or yeah. And then it makes like a beautiful pattern. The sand automatically,
That's what that happens in my head.
yeah, like it moves into the perfect pattern. And if you change the frequency to like, for something, then it changes into a different pattern. And I think that because, we're all made up of the same thing, cells, atoms, molecules, like if we listen to certain frequencies, it can bring a calmness within
Oh,
us.
100%, 100%. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get like, if I hear a song that reminds me of like a good time, like my past in a good way, I get like these tingles all up my body, and I just feel like so alive. It's really strange to
Yes.
explain, and I'm sure a lot of people feel like that when they listen to certain music, and it can take you back to a really good time, and you feel that feeling again when you're listening to it. And I just think music is such a powerful tool to use when you,
Yes.
especially when you've got mental health issues and you feel that not much else is going to help. I do feel like music is a medicine. I'm
Oh,
so grateful that it
absolutely.
exists.
I just was at an Esther Hicks conference and she said, the world doesn't speak in words, it speaks in vibration, frequency, and
Yeah,
sound. Like it
it does.
does.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
does.
beautiful. So tell us like what you're doing now.
Okay, so on the back of the successes from Miss Great Britain, that was in 2021, I'm releasing more music as well. And I'm also in schools and colleges quite a lot talking about mental health and my experiences. My aim is to be that person I needed when I was at school. So if I'm going into a college or a school and there's a kid that doesn't fit in or doesn't feel like they're good enough, I want to be that person that if someone like me had gone into my school and said, you know what, you're good, you're going to be fine, this is not the end, this is the start of your life, like hold
Mm.
on, keep going. You know what, it would have really helped me, because no one, my mum could say it until she got blue in the face, but you don't believe your parents. You think, what does mum know? You do,
Right?
don't you? Like, oh, what's she on
No.
about? Go on. You don't know. And you think that you forget that your parents were once kids too, right? When you were that young.
Yes.
And now that I'm older, I realized my mum was right. Like those people that were in school that I don't even talk to anymore. I don't know what they're doing anymore. You know what? At the time, I really cared so much about what
I
they thought.
know.
And now I'm just
The
like, actually,
world, and especially for
right.
you in the boarding school, that's your world.
There was no
But you
out. There was no way
realize
I could
how
just go.
big the world actually is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And there was no, for a lot of kids, when they go home after school, they can really like chill and like vent and decompress. I didn't have that. And I think that was part of the problem, because I was never able to just go into a pillow or whatever people do to get those emotions out. So I was
Yeah.
constantly having to fake. I was constantly having to put on a mask throughout my school time. And I've taken that with me even now. I'm still trying to learn that actually to be vulnerable is all right. And going back what you were saying on what I was doing now, it's really great that I'm still chatting to like-minded women about my journey and about what I've done, because that's the reason I went and did what I did in Miss GB, was because I know that a lot of people resonated with what I was doing, and it was about women having a choice to do what they want with their own bodies. My own journey that I didn't have choices to,
Yeah.
unfortunately, some choices were taken away from me when I was very young, and it was about that reminder to myself as well that actually I have a choice now to make something of myself and to go forward and to, as a woman, to show myself and not be scared and not make myself small, because I'm done doing that. I've done that for so long. And now I'm actually, I'm still growing, I'm still healing, but I'm healing as I'm helping other people. And it's a really cool journey at the moment. I'm working full-time in mental health, which is great, using my experiences to help other people. And also it helps me, everything that I do is all linked into my story and linked into who I am and where I came from. So yeah, I'm really grateful at the moment that I'm on this journey. I know that sounds really like,
we are all on the journey. And I love how you said that everything that you went through is linked and part. It's like we're a woven, like beautiful tapestry, and it's meant to. Some things are hard, some things are easy, but like your whole journey is part of your story. And you wouldn't be who you are today. You wouldn't be a singer. You wouldn't be, Miss Great Britain if you didn't go through what you went through. And you wouldn't be able to have empathy and compassion for the people that you're mentoring if you didn't go through the bullying yourself.
No, I wouldn't have known. I think there's a big difference between textbook and lived experience. I think textbook's helpful and textbook's good when you want to know like the technical things around something. But when you've lived it and you know what this person's thinking and you know what their processes are, it really helps that person. And as I said, if I had someone like me going, you know what, it's all good, like chill, you're going to be fine, I would have probably like not gone through all the things I had, because it was because I was by myself a lot of the time that I felt the abandonment, and I felt like I needed to, do these drugs and do this alcohol to feel something and to feel like I was part of something. And it went on for quite a while. And unfortunately, I got an eating disorder as well through my struggles and through the bullying and through feeling inadequate. And body image was a big part of my growing up, and it's still a big part of me now. I still have days where I wake up, as everyone probably does. We're all human at the end of the day. The pressure that women have to look a certain way even now is really hard. And I wake up sometimes and I'm like, oh God, I don't look like that model that I've just seen on Instagram. And I have to stop myself and go, you got to practice what you preach, girl. You can't, know. And it is quite hard sometimes, but I think
it's hard.
I'm all about body appreciation and body, not positivity, but body acceptance, because I think that we all have hang-ups and we are all human, men, women, everybody has hang-ups. But I feel like if we can remember that the body's not just an external, it's also an internal, and it's carried me this far. Like my body's been through so much. It's survived trauma, it's survived abuse, it's survived drugs, it's survived an eating disorder, and it's still here right now. If I can appreciate that and not look at it just as an external, I'm halfway there. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think we have that enough in social media and in the media, where people's bodies are always sexualized or always, do you know what I mean? It's not all about that all the time. It is about what it's taken you through, all the battle scars that you have got you, have gotten you this far. And
absolutely,
and there's not enough of that, really.
It's funny that you said that, because I'm turning 43, and I was looking at myself in the mirror yesterday, because I haven't worked out at all this year either, because it's too cold. And for me, too cold, it's like 55 degrees here. Which I don't know what it means in Celsius. It's like, the sun is out. Okay. So and look at me, I'm wearing a beanie. I'm in California, but it's cold, and I don't want to go into the garage because it's colder in the garage to work out. I'm looking at myself in the mirror because I put on my workout clothes, because every day I think I'm going to work out and then I don't. But I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm actually not fat. Why do I tell myself I am? And why did I spend most of my 20s and 30s where I was significantly less weight than I am now, like almost 50 pounds less than what I am now? And I used to tell myself back then, when I was 20, when I was 30, that I was fat and ugly, and to the point where I even would miss like events because I felt so fat and ugly that I didn't fit into my clothes. But now it's like, everything you learn as your journey, like you wish you can go back and tell, like you're doing now, you're actually doing what you, and go, right. And tell that kid and stop. Like you said, it's like, it's going to get better. It's going to get even better. And just enjoy your youth. Like I look at my stepsons, my oldest stepson is in college, and I always look at him and I'm always like, enjoy your freedom. Because eventually you're going to become an adult and you're going to have to pay bills and you're going to have a wife and children. Like, enjoy your freedom right now. Absolutely, enjoy being young. Enjoy the ability to, and all the possibilities are laid. Not that we don't have that as we get older, because I still feel like I have all these possibilities to do whatever I want with my life. But when you're younger, it's just, you have way more energy and you can stay up late and just like so much different things. But yes, it was such an incredible interview to be able to talk to you, Elle, coming all the way from the UK. But as we wrap up this episode, what would be your nugget of wisdom for anyone who is listening now?
Mine would be just don't give up, stay true to yourself, and take your journey as yours. Don't look at other people's journeys, don't compare yourself to other people's. Just keep going on your track, because believe it or not, it will lead you to the right place. And things do happen for a reason. That's corny as it sounds, it really does. And just enjoy it, enjoy the journey, because it's all about the journey, not the destination. Just enjoy all the people you're meeting, all the things that are happening. Just, yeah, absolutely, that would be my nugget of wisdom. And just keep going, just please keep going, keep holding on and do what you do, because you're great at it.
I love it. All right, Elle, how can my audience find you?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok. I don't really know how to use TikTok, but anyway, and I'm Elle Seline Official. That's ELLE Seline Official, and I'm all on there. If you want to follow my journey, please do. And again, I really appreciate your time today as well with the interview. It's been really fun meeting you, and yeah, meeting like-minded women is what I'm wanting to do more of. So thank you for.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for listening to Journey of a Fearless Female. I'm your host, Paola Rosser. If you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual mentor, you can book a free discovery call with me at www.fearlessfemale.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at fearlessfemale_coach, subscribe to my YouTube channel at fearlessfemale, or find me on TikTok. I'm under at paola.rosser. And if you love this episode, make sure you hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a review. I read every single review, and I truly appreciate the time you spend writing it.